All right, we are recording now. Excellent. What were you
Great.
saying, Vicky?
Yes, today we have our good old friend Ashwin to run his famous and legendary behavioral design workshop. I would say all of you who joined today are very lucky. This is really amazing workshop, and I hope everyone will enjoy. So I will quickly give the floor to Heiyu. She's from Suomen Yrittäjät. This training program is a partnership with Suomen Yrittäjät. So she will give just a quick intro, and then Ashwin will give the floor to you.
Great.
Okay, hi. Yeah, so I was checking what you said about the day, the time on Facebook, and that's right. You were right. That's because there were the person who has done it has probably just multiplied the same event that was the first time, which was from 10 to 3. So now I change it. So I hope everybody has read the email instead. But yeah, so my name is Heiyu Simola. I come from Suomen Yrittäjät. And I hope some of you already know what the organization is about. It's one of Finland's biggest NGOs, and we're basically a lobbying and service organization for small and medium-sized enterprises or companies. And our membership services include lawyer advices. So if you're a member and you need some advice like how to do stuff when something occurs that you're not sure about, and you would need a lawyer, so you can just call our lawyers, my colleagues here. And then we have we organize these kind of workshops, different kind of trainings. We have a lot of other networking events as well. We inform our members by sending out email newsletters concerning new laws, for example, or things that you're supposed to do now that you're an entrepreneur in Finland. All these we remind you of the lovely bureaucracy we have here. And then we also have some other services, but I'm gonna put you a link here in the chat so you can check them out later by yourself. And since you only have 3 hours today, so I'm gonna give the floor to the next person. But nice to see all of you here, and I hope that more people are coming in at 10. Bye.
Great. Thanks, Heiyu. And well, now without further ado, Ashwin, the floor is all yours.
All right, great, lovely. The recording is on, guys. It's nice to see you all, and it would be super awesome if you could turn on your cameras so I can see your faces. It makes it more like there's like a real audience here. And if you need to go away, put on at least a profile picture. Yeah, just the more present you are, the better this is going to be. Also, I never do anything that's not really very highly interactive. It's more like a workshop mode, because you don't really learn anything by just listening to stuff. You can always do that on YouTube, but we're here to do stuff. So also I just want to maybe have a couple of people say something like, why are you here? Because I just want to hear if your mic is working and if you're able to, speak quite spontaneously. So maybe Andreas can say something, anything at all, just for us to be.
I just gave early on the comment about the time.
Okay. Oh yeah, you're the guy. Yeah.
Yeah,
great.
I was the guy. Yes, awesome. I'm actually from Oulu.
Awesome.
Okay.
Lovely. Hey, I see Sergio. How's Sergio doing? What's up, Sergio? Are you here?
Hello. Can you hear? Can you see me now?
Yes. Let's see.
Almost there.
Let's see. Yes, I see you.
Okay. Yes.
Hey,
I'm good. Thanks.
buddy.
Nice to see you. Yes.
I know. Been a while. Sergio and I were back at Fjord. Great. Okay. Nice to hear some voices. This presence of some people. Like I said, I'm just going to make it pretty interactive today, and I will kick it off without any further ado. We are recording, so please keep that in mind. I'll share my screen with you, and let's take it from there. Luckily, I taught a course. Oh no, admit, don't stop video. Luckily, I taught a course in behavior design on Zoom this summer. So hopefully I've gotten used to, doing this thing. Optimize for a video clip. And here we go. Okay, sweet. Okay, let's see that this thing is actually working. There we go. Great. Okay, so I'm calling this a lean boot camp because, it's just really hard to do this in anything less than a day, typically. And we're obviously not going to be able to touch upon a lot of stuff in this short time, but I think I'll try to give you just enough to give you a flavor of what this is all about. I also have more website videos and stuff on my website, etc. So, hello. Yeah, just do a tech check, make sure your mic's working because you want to be able to speak and that you are able to see my screen. You can interrupt me at any time. It's just a conversational thing. We're just having a chat here. I have some slides to show you to support the chat, but it's just very conversational. So lean back and let's be chatty about it. Feel free to ask me anything. We also have a little bit of flexible time. I've prepared for not the entire 3 hours, but only about half the time. And then we have some overtime after that where you'll be networking and stuff. So also the time is flexible. So if something is, you don't understand something, feel free to, drop me a chat message or just say something. So our agenda today is, we're just going to look at what is behavior design, very, very simple, high level. And we're just going to start workshopping on a case actually. And while we workshop, we will learn a framework that I created and which I teach and use in my consulting and all of my work. Sorry. And when doing that, we hopefully will also understand some of the key concepts of this field. Excellent. A little bit about me. I've been around for a couple of decades now in this design business. And I've worked at a few companies there. I've mostly been in the consulting field, but through consulting, I've worked with a number of large global customers on all kinds of projects, customer projects, B2C, B2B, startups, governments, education. I've been very lucky to work with a lot of very interesting organizations and work at many different stages of projects, from very early stage innovation to late stage and continuing projects and so on. Yeah. So that's a bit about me. And let's just dive right in, I think the first thing we really want to do is kind of really understand what is behavior design in a very simple, fundamental way, and where it sits within all the other design disciplines, because you are talking about a design discipline. Behavior design is not something that is different or separate from other design disciplines. It's just I call it a new slice in the design pizza pie. If you have service design, UX design, and all these others, interaction and visual design and what have you, then you have behavior design as a sort of an extra pie, which has always been there, but now I think it's starting to get a concrete shape, a clear shape. Okay, so as a first task and discussion, I just want you to take about 2-3 minutes to kind of write down, what do you think is not behavior design, but what is behavior? Take 2 minutes, write down a couple of points, and I want a couple of people to tell me what they think. Go for it, Vicky.
I have to run.
All right. So for those who came late, we're trying to do a small task and have a discussion. We're going to write down what is behavior or what is a behavior. In your opinion, just you obviously have some idea about it. So what is it? Okay, guys, great. Let's start with Cesar. Cesar, Nasheen, Mustafa, Angela, Kimmo, why are you guys all behind this dark screen? Are you there? And are you just, listening to this like a radio show, a podcast, or are you on your computer? So can you please show yourself?
I will in just one moment. I just had to drop my daughter off to school. I'll be there in a second. I'm listening all the time.
Okay, fair enough.
I have an answer ready for you.
I do not have a problem. Whatever you're doing, I just want to see you. No worries if you're actually walking the dog or anything, because that's the fun of Zoom. I don't have any issues. But anyways, great. Kirsi or Vesa, one of you guys, has one of you written what is a behavior? Kirsi?
Yeah, hi.
Hello.
For me, it's like actions.
Good.
So
Excellent.
action, something that people do. So it is something
You said
active.
it. You said it. Anyone else? Any other answers?
Well, yeah,
Go
sorry,
for it.
go ahead.
That's written down as behavior, how you act in different situations, because I think we act differently in various.
Fantastic. Curry is built on that. Fantastic. Kimmo.
Can you hear me okay, hopefully?
Clear.
Okay, so it is conscious or unconscious actions, or planned or unplanned.
Great stuff.
So sometimes we don't even know how do we behave. My kid is hangry all the time.
It's difficult to tell why.
Yeah.
That's why they call it the black box of behavior. Cesar? Hello. Nasheen?
Yeah.
Hi.
The behavior, one who acts action towards others in different situations. It's a good situation is there, bad situation is there. So all kind of situation, one who acts how
Great.
acting towards others.
Yeah.
Some kind of good behavior, some kind of bad behavior, depends on the situations.
Very good. How about Kwang Nguyen? Sorry to pronounce your name wrong.
I'm in another meeting also, so I will show you guys later.
Okay. Vesa? Okay, guys, this is pretty good. At least this is working.
I have a question. So I basically had something very similar to what people have said already. My only doubt was about does act or action. It's always kind of something somehow physical that other people can perceive, or does it include also thinking? Like, okay,
Exactly.
in response to a certain trigger or situation.
Exactly.
If I think a certain way, is that also behavior, or does
Exactly.
the behavior include, or does behavior include also kind of acting or the physical aspects?
That's exactly the point that I was trying to raise. And usually I get answers which are both in the world of perception, thinking, feeling, which you can call the subjective state. But today, actually, all the answers were pretty much in the right domain, because behavior, when you use that word, is purely human action. It's something that people actually do. So the reason you do it, it could be triggered by a memory, it could be triggered by an internal craving, like a trigger. We will touch some of these words today. But all of those are not behaviors until it has manifested in the real world as some kind of action. But the interesting thing is, therefore, what we do on digital devices, on digital products and services are also very much behavior. And that's the area where I specialize, or where behavior design for most of us working in the digital field starts to make a lot of sense. Because it's not just, back in the day, you used to order a cab by standing on a street and waving at it. Today, you do it by swiping or pushing a button. We accomplish so many things through these devices, which are either born or they're through screens or what have you. So behavior is becoming something that people do, not just, it still remains what you do in the real world, but it also remains what you do in the digital world. And for us, we count both of these as behaviors. We can be pretty specific in a journey and say, well, this is an in-product behavior because the person is doing it in the product. They are swiping on a dating platform. They are, clicking match or invite on a professional platform. And in the real world, they are picking up coffee or going for a walk. But as long as it's action, it's behavior. Why is behavior so interesting to me? Why I got so interested in it? Sergio and I, we were working in experience design agencies, and we've been thinking about experience, and we work in this area called experience for a very long time, which is very valid. But I got so hyper-focused on behavior when I understood this. It's because you cannot actually measure experience, but you can measure behavior. Experience is a subjective state. So if all of us say, if I give you a scale and say, guys, did you have a great time? One on, how do you rate your experience today on a scale of 1 to 10? And if Sergio said 7 and I said 10 and someone else, Kari, said 5, it's relatively, we have some idea, but we don't know subjectively what that means. Like, what does a 7 mean for you? But if you remain for the whole length of the seminar, that's a behavior. If you asked 5 questions, that's a behavior. If you wrote 5 answers, that's a behavior. If you recorded and shared the seminar, that's a behavior. So through behavior, you can clearly track someone's engagement much more than you can with a subjective declaration like a NPS or like a scale. And I'm not saying get rid of experience. I'm saying use them both in combination. If we understood triggers, if we understood these internal memory states, but also we understood behaviors together, we have a much more powerful combination. Does that make sense?
Totally. Thanks.
Great. So, but interestingly, because we have all this other subjective experience design and all of this stuff, there's a lot of work on it. Our whole focus of this entire discipline is really actually, the whole discipline is focused on designing human action. What we care is why and how and towards whom and on what device, in what moment. Whoa, someone's doggy is trying to participate. Hi guys. Hello, can I speak now? I think someone's mic is possibly on. Okay, looks like nobody's mic. Yeah, Flinsky, great. Excellent. So for example, here I put the example of Slack on the screen. Slack as a product, if you're designing it, if you're thinking about behavior design of Slack, you're going to try to understand, how does Slack drive human behavior? What does it enable people to do? How does it help them to collaborate? How does it help them to share? How does it help them to produce? You see, we're not interested so much in how does it help them to think? How does it make them feel? How does it enable them to imagine or be better people. Of course, we care about that, but we don't, the scope of behavior design does not include that. And that's why we will do a workshop today and go through a framework just so you can see the scope and work with the scope quite well. Excellent. All right, so I'll jump into a couple of examples. For example, here, I hope you all can see my screen. I myself have a small screen here, just a laptop. But for example, here in the Steps app, the moment I finish my goal for the day, I have 10,000 steps as my goal. The moment I finish my goal, the app asks me to, ask me if I would like to rate the app and share it. Now, if you see, this is actually this is a pretty good behavior design, because many apps will ask you to rate or share. A lot of YouTube people, authors will ask you to share the moment you start a video. They will say, "Hi, we are a channel on digital marketing. Please like or subscribe." The problem is, I don't want to do a behavior that gives you a like or a subscribe before I have actually enjoyed or consumed some content. I have not been rewarded. I have not gotten any benefit. I've not gotten any value from your service, and you're asking me to like or subscribe. But if you ask me to like or subscribe after I've got some benefit from your service, then I might be more inclined to do it. So where you're asking me to do the behavior of liking and subscribing really matters. In this case, I walked 10,000 steps. I'm high on oxygen, feeling this awesome. I've been walking in the forest. I'm like, whoa, I hit my goal. Then it says, enjoying this app. Yeah, I am. I'm much more likely. Imagine if it asked me to like or subscribe when I woke up in the morning and I walked 10 steps. I'm like, I'm not interested in liking or subscribing then. So how do you align with the user's motivation? How do you align with what they are, where they are in a certain place to be able to drive their action? Because we are interested in driving their action. So if you've only walked 10 steps, then the app should not be trying to ask me to like or subscribe. It should be trying to get me to move more towards my goal, right? Okay. For example, another one here, this is an app called Blinkist, a really interesting product. They basically give you book summaries every week. You get like half a dozen book summaries, and you can quickly read the summaries of these books, mostly nonfiction, or I think all nonfiction. But the cool thing is, during the onboarding, it says you'll save 56 hours on reading this week. Of course, the behavior it's driving here is only continue, but this is a very powerful little behavioral intervention, because it's rewarding me in the present for something that I'm going to do in the future. I have not yet completed 56 hours of reading, but the app is making me feel good about it right now by basically bringing the reward from the future into the now and saying, look, man, you're doing good. That encouragement, that push makes me want to engage with the app just a little bit more. If the onboarding was not done, if the app just opened up and I start using the app, it expects me to start using the app, I wouldn't have as much relationship with the app as when this onboarding is not done well. Okay, couple of examples there. So what goes into behavior design? I gave you a little bit of idea of what is behavior, what is the scope of behavior design. We're trying to design people's actions on digital and in the real world. And we saw a couple of examples of how this happens. I have tons of examples, not in this presentation, but in my life, which I can always give you. But if you start opening up this black box of behavior and what happens in people's brains, you start getting into human psychology, and what you have is a massive Pandora's box. These are some of the key topics that I myself work with, what I have studied. I studied psychology and sociology as a bachelor, and then I studied interaction design. And anyone who's been working in design, let me check the chat really quickly to make sure that I'm not missing anything. Very good examples, love it, yay. Thanks, Shirin. I love feedback, please give me feedback. So when you start getting into this area of behavior design, you're combining a lot of behavioral theories, psychological theories, behavioral science models, together with design thinking. Okay, so some of the things you're looking at are stuff like motivation, beliefs, cognitive biases, and you have more advanced areas like nudging and choice architecture. You're looking at things like what is the role of emotion, what is the role of learning, how does learning work, what are triggers, how do you gamify things, how do you develop habits. So this screen is my main palette. This is my main set of tools, you could say, or theories from the bank from where I draw all of my stuff. And I have collected this over the last 10, 12 years or so. But more or less, this kind of serves up what I need when I do work in behavior design. But even though something like motivation is internal, we are interested in motivation in order to drive behavior. If you understand motivation, then you can understand why someone would want to do something. For example, if you understand what is someone's decision making, how someone makes decisions, then you can help them make decisions. You can help them make choices between products or between which movie to watch. You can help them drive that behavior. If you understand how someone forms habits, then you can help them do repetitive behaviors over a period of time, or help them stop toxic behaviors, etc., etc. So we study the field of behavioral science, we study the field of psychology, we study all of this in order to help people do things, get shit done, basically. Okay, great. But the problem is, what I found was that you have all this awesome stuff, but this has just been developed through history, and it's often that it's very confusing as to what is under what and what is a subtopic of what. And you can be studying personality types, and in that you will find something about motivation. And if you study motivation, you'll find something about beliefs. And when you're studying something about beliefs, you'll be told that certain personality types have certain beliefs. So it's like this massive, is it Matrushka doll, that you keep opening it up and other things keep coming up, but then those things they had come out before, and you start having this weird mind map problem of, okay, what is related to what in what configuration? And that's what I did for 15 years, pretty much trying to connect them in some logical way. Luckily, I'm not like talking as if I'm this lone genius. I have a lot of excellent research scholars, academics, authors who came before me and who are working. These are the serious academics, but I tried to take all of that stuff and synthesize it into a framework that could be used for behavior design and turn it into something that looks more like this, where there is some clear links between these areas and how these pieces of the puzzle fit together. And so I came up with this thing called the Behavior Design Canvas, which is a 3-part framework, which is what you use today. Obviously, it has a lot of different elements, and then there are sub-elements there. So, not sure why I don't have the one with the cues. Excuse me. Anyways, yeah, I can change that when we're doing an exercise. So yeah. Basically, I have 2 versions of the canvas. This one is the one that has no tooltips, and the other one has lots of tooltips. It tells you what to do in each box. Even it gives you some tips on what to do in each box. So in any case, this is a framework I came up with, and it's become quite popular, at least where I have taught it and where I've used it. And it helps to bring all of those elements, or many of those elements that I showed you before, and put them in a particular place so they have a definite relationship and you have a definite process for doing behavior design now. Again, this is built on other frameworks and other theories and models, so it's not something I just created. I just kind of assembled it in a unique way. Okay, and especially in a visual way, because the good thing about design thinking, if we practice it, is that it's quite visual, it's tangible, and it's very collaborative. So that's the key benefit here. Okay, great. But today we're going to practice and we're going to reflect. I'm trying this other approach today, where I'm going to get you to do something, and then we're going to think about what we did. You're going to work with your hands. Of course, I will give you some basis for doing these things, give you some knowledge before you do anything. But we're going to do quite a lot of tasks today, simple tasks. So just make yourself comfortable and, you know, have fun. And it can be as interactive and chatty as you like. So we're going to take Facebook's RayBan stories. I wrote a little article about this recently. Okay, before I go any further, any questions on all this so far? Sergio had a great question earlier.
If I might have a question.
Yeah.
I also have a background in science and pre-med and psychology. So this is an interesting area for me, and I always love to be a part of conversations in this area. So
lovely.
One thing that, you know, this seems a very basic breakdown. So basically where I would start is exactly as you had said, this is the motivation. And then from the motivations, then you get this already current behaviors, beliefs, and then already their current actions. And so the motivations is what basically drives this. And what I'm interested in and what I've done my thesis on in the MBA program is precisely that, is marketing to 4 different sets of customers at the same time, and working on each of their beliefs on for example, on a sport, either it's a first sport or a second sport, and how you treat that customer group. Is that, are they playing this sport to supplement their first sport? Then you give them their messages and this. And so that's how you change behaviors in that way, is get them in their current beliefs of what the purpose of what you're trying to get them to do is. And so do you work in this type of, it's a bit more complex way, but
sure.
Yeah, it's for me like a really interesting, is this common in the bigger companies?
Thanks for sharing. So I think a lot of marketing is, they do think about what people do, but so much of marketing is just also about what they want people to believe. And that's why the word belief comes up so much in what you said. A brand is trying to create a perception. What do you believe about Tesla, right? You have some idea about it. What do you believe about Levi's? And then what do you believe about Coke, right? So you're kind of, I think if you're a sensitive person, then your feelings went down that way, as I went from Tesla to Levi's to Coke, right? But have I tried to drive your behavior towards any of these products? I have not done that. You know, I've only tried to, it's your impression, it's your emotional reaction that we're talking about here. So marketing, like I said, all of this has been around, but the focus of this field is getting people to do something. And that's why a lot of work in behavior design actually happens in the nonprofit sector. It happens in areas like health, wellness, a lot of it in so-called developing world contexts, and a lot of the work is focused on just helping people fix their lives, you know, be more stable, drop toxic behaviors. A lot of work happens there. So you're spot on, and I think we have a lot of like common ground in what you're talking about. Let's get into the, so the thing is, you said something about motivation. This is very important, and in fact, this is a key discussion in the field right now that not many people are talking about, which is how important is motivation. In the behavior design world itself, there are a couple of camps in this. One camp says, and I am in that camp, the first camp, and I don't know if you are also in that camp, but I think the importance of motivation is super, super high for long-term behavior change. And the other camp says, you don't need so much motivation. What you need is the context. You need to change the situation in which behavior happens. You need to change the context. You need to reduce barriers to doing a behavior. You need to make it easy to do a behavior. You need to facilitate behavior change. And I think, of course, you need that too. And I think you need to be able to, and we'll talk about that today. But what is the importance of motivation in behavior change? and long-term behavior change versus short-term behavior change. You see, if I want you to vote for Brexit, I'm not asking you for a long-term behavior change. I'm asking you to do one behavior only once in your life, right? All my attention, all my behavior design expertise is focused on getting you to get out there, or if you're doing bail-in, mail-in, whatever, or I want you to change, I want you to take that one action. And actually the Brexit campaign they were very good at convincing people who actually hadn't made up their minds. They were the so-called persuadables sitting between the two camps. And they were not sure if they wanted to Brexit, but in the end, they just did it. I know people like that. I researched that a little bit. But that entire behavior, so-called behavior design, behavior change is purely one action. But if you want to start running every day, if you want to run 3 times a week, you're talking about an ongoing behavior change that sustains over a period of time. So you're going to need a unique strategy. You're going to need a different understanding of the motivation there. You're going to have to deal with it differently. So the span of behavior change also matters. But I think you touched upon a very important topic, and I hope to talk more about it today when we get into the motivation box.
I completely agree with you. And I think also some of my work was also getting these motivations by visualization. And that's how you get the first step into creating that behavior, is to, like, just as the last example that you said, is that taking running 3 times per week, is that there's so many studies where when you tell the respondent, it's all in also how you word it, is that when, for example, getting people to brush their teeth, is that just in how you word the question, or getting people to participate in brushing their teeth twice per day, is that wording is that when you brush your teeth twice per day, and getting them to feel already as, I'm brushing my teeth twice per day, and just when you're running 3 times per week, and you put that already, you put it in their routine when you run before work or after work, and that actually implements in their mind that they're already, I could run before work, I could run after work. And so getting them to think already and putting themselves in that position is the first, because if
Agreed. I'm just saying that I think a little bit of a mistake, and sorry for this extensive discussion, guys, but I think this is a good discussion. I hope it's interesting to you all. I think the mistake that most scholars and academics make is that they give you an example, such as getting someone to brush their teeth. And then we assume that because we understand that we understand all behavior change. But actually the problem is that behavior is extremely contextual, like I think Kari had said, or someone had said, Andreas maybe, getting someone to do something in a situation, in a context. And the challenge of changing behavior is also very different depending on the behavior. Getting someone to brush their teeth, getting someone to trash properly, getting someone to vote, getting someone to lobby the government because you want action on climate change. These are very different magnitudes. Like imagine climate lobbying and brushing your teeth. The level of motivation in these, the impact, the importance to yourself, to your identity, these are all completely different. So they are 2 very different cases. And I would say, I would just be very careful not to think that I understand something about behavior change because I accomplished one of these. We understood behavior change in that domain, in that challenge. And then, how do we be open about being fresh and innovative in our approach? So today we'll work with a product. Anyone else, guys? Really good points. Thank you. Anyone else? Any questions? Ruby, how's it going? Any thoughts? Okay. I just don't want to be talking all the time. People are still entering. Claudio. I think this is the batch that's coming in for the 10 o'clock. Who saw the 10 o'clock? Hey guys, people who've just entered in the last few minutes, hi again, welcome. Well, we've already had about 45 minutes of conversation going on. We're just about to start the case for using a product that was recently launched. And welcome. And we're going to work with the framework that I've created, and we will be talking about pretty much everything. So you are coming at a good time. Don't worry about it. I'm going to start on Facebook RayBan Stories. Okay, this product was launched in the wearables segment. So we have a chat here. Okay, good. This thing was launched a few days ago, and I got quite excited about it. Well, we digital guys, we are excited about all products and services. This one is pretty interesting because it's a collaboration between a big controversial social media brand, extremely powerful globally, and iconic sunglass and shades manufacturer. And they've collaborated and they've come up with this smart glasses called RayBan Stories. And a few slides about what its features are. It comes at this about $300 price point. They basically taken the iconic designs from RayBan. Typically, it looks like a Wayfarer to me, but as you can see, the sides are slightly thicker. There's some technology in there. And what it does have is two 5-megapixel cameras on both sides. I have no idea if they're using both the cameras to, like a binoculars, to kind of do the photo and video capture and what the optics are. But I do know that it has two cameras, and basically that's what the camera looks like. Next to that camera, you see this little light here. That light is nice because when you're actually recording or taking a video and the camera is in use, the light is white, it shines. And I've heard some reviews that the shine is not bright enough, but it's there, and it's a signal, it's a signifier that you are being recorded. And that I think is really, really good to make other people more relaxed, and to, it's clear between the wearer and the people around them that I'm taking a photo now, right? And it has these open ear speakers on the side. This is on the stem of the camera of the glasses, and basically the speakers kind of sit around here, close to the ear. And again, there's some reports that the audio is not that great, and there's some reports that say the audio is nice, but it's too early to tell. And I guess we will never know the general answer because this is quite subjective, and also depends on where you are, but it does have speakers, and it has a mic somewhere, of course, and it has this capture button. The button is on the right side, as you can see. I think it's just a simple click, and it helps to capture photos or videos. I'm not sure if it's a long press for a video and a short press for a photo, how it works, but that's where the button is. And then the most interesting thing for me is that it actually has voice commands, obviously. So the first few use cases are, hey, Facebook, take a video. Hey, Facebook, take a photo. And did I put the app here? I didn't put the app, but yeah, basically it comes with an app. I think probably a free app. Facebook is taking a lot of concern, a lot of interest, showing a lot of concern for the privacy dimension and emphasizing it. They have an entire microsite created just on privacy for this product, where they talk large, clear messaging. This is your data, it's in your control. You have all these safety features. You have this on-off button when you can turn off the device. It's totally off, then it's just a sunglasses. Then you have this clear recording light in the front, and it does not automatically post anything anywhere. It only takes those photos, videos, and you find them on your app. It's through your app that you can share, Instagram, Facebook, whatever. So you have control, and they're emphasizing that, and they're pushing it. Now, the reason this is interesting is because until now, Snap and a few others, Amazon, all these guys have tried, smart glasses, but I believe none of them have really, do you even know about them? You don't, because when you're talking about glasses, you're talking about fashion, and technology companies do not know how to make fashion, right? Apple is the only technology company that knows how to make fashion. Tesla knows how to make fashion, but I don't know so many other high-tech consumer companies that actually can deliver products that you could consider fashion. So, and that's been the lead of these companies. And Facebook figured out that, hey, let's not try to do fashion. Let's just go collaborate with an awesome fashion designer who already exists. And that's a great boost for the brand. Facebook's brand is suffering for a number of reasons. And RayBan gets to enter the consumer electronics space. It's a win-win for everybody if it's done right. Anyway, so this is the product we're going to take. Now, I know this is challenging, but I don't believe in doing something that's easy. Let's do something difficult and jump into the deep end and we learn together. So I said, what if we take a product like this and try to reverse engineer the behavior design of this product? We try to see, in order to get a product like this, how would you think if we were a team designing the product? How would we think, how would we reach this conclusion? And how would we think about the behavior design? It doesn't have to be complicated. We're just trying to figure out what is the behavior design breakdown of this product. And to do that, we will basically jump into this, the framework that I created, and we will try to do behavior design for stories eyewear. How does that sound? Any thoughts on the product? Any reactions?
Sounds good.
Great. Anyone else? Okay. A couple of things. I just added a few user insights of my own, which I thought would be quite aligned with this product. One of them would be users love to do something with their hands and capture video. That's been around forever, right? Imagine the possibilities something like this opens up. You're doing pottery, you're cooking, you're riding, you're playing frisbee, 100 million things, you're running with the dog. Imagine not having this thing that you have to hold all the time, find the camera app, locate the camera button, position the damn thing, frame it. So there's something called the executive function in the brain. The executive function is basically, let me ask somebody, what is the capital of France? Anyone? Hi, what's the capital of France? Anybody? Sergio?
Yeah, Paris.
Great, right? Did it take you 1 nanosecond, 1 millisecond? You know it.
About that.
Paris.
But if I ask you, what is 31 into 2.3 million into 736? Right? You're not going to be able to answer like Paris. Why? Because I'm in the second case, I'm asking you to engage something called the brain's executive function. It is what has also been called in popular terms, thinking fast and thinking slow. There are certain things that we do instinctively, and there are things that we do, we have to put manual labor and mental effort into doing it. So the problem with photo taking and with, for example, driving is very complex. The interesting thing is people get good at doing something instinctively that in the beginning, they struggle. So they have to use the executive function. For example, if you ask a child, what is a 3-year-old or 5-year-old, what is the capital of France, they may not be able to be as quick about it. How did you get to this point where you know instinctively? Because you've practiced it, you've done it over and over again. When someone's learning to drive a car, in the beginning, they are completely like, they have to give it 100% attention. They're scared. If you try to talk to them, they may snap at you. They're like, hey, shut up, I'm trying to drive. But an experienced driver will be checking his phone, they'll be driving. You see what happens? So something that begins in a task that you learn by putting a lot of effort using the executive function, through practice, it becomes what is called instinctual. So What this product is doing, the interesting shift it's doing, is that it's taking away this executive function problem that we have still, even though we do photo taking, camera taking very quickly with phones, you still cannot do too much more. You can't get yourself a cup of coffee, operate a coffee machine, I want cappuccino, I want something else, and take a video of it. Try to do that. If someone's talking to you, you're screwed. You have to stop one of these. And I think, by the way, that's the key problem that any brain-machine interface like Neuralink has to solve. It's a different discussion. But something like Facebook photo frames is trying to remove that problem, or reduce it at least, and make it purely a voice-activated thing. And that's where they should go, in my opinion. So you can do your coffee, you can do your pottery, you can be petting your dog and say, Facebook, take a photo. I know it's a bit creepy to use Facebook there because you're always thinking of Mark, and Mark kind of taking a picture of your dog, and this is not the most fun situation. But that's another problem. And that's all things we need to explore, right? Because these are barriers to doing that behavior of taking a photo. Anyways, so to come back to the issue of user insights. So one thing we know for sure, that our users would love to do something with their hands and capture video at the same time. But at the same time, our users are also nice people. They are privacy sensitive. They do not want to spy. They do not want to make others around them feel vulnerable. Okay, these are the two key user insights we want to work with. Great. I have some chat. Someone's smiling. Great. Smiles are very good. Oh, I do have the canvas with the tool tips. See, this is what I meant. If you need this canvas, please email me or reach me on LinkedIn. I'll say I'm happy to send you a high resolution copy. It has all these little tips on what to do, or at least bullet points on each of these areas. Okay, so the first step when you design behavior is really to look at what behavior change you're targeting. And so the canvas, to go back here, has 3 parts right on top. It has the first part here, it's called target. The second is called align, and the third is called shape. In the first part, or the first step, we have 2 segments. One is called the present behavior, or the current behavior. What does the human do currently? And the second is the desired behavior. Okay, I want to activate your brains now. Anybody besides Flinsky? What's your name again? Sorry.
Angela.
Angela. Besides Angela, anyone who's probably newer to this field, do you have any reaction on why we have these 2 sections here, present and desired behavior? What's going on?
Well, I guess that's
okay. Go ahead, Sahil.
Okay. I guess it has to do with what changes you want to get to. So how they're doing now, and what do you see as kind of the, hopefully as the not evil behavior that you want them to achieve. So
exactly.
Well, basically, like where.
Yes.
In order to achieve that behavior, you need to know where you're aiming at.
Agreed. Agreed. Perfect. Any other thoughts? Cesar? Ruby? Claudio? I'm trying to get you to do a behavior, but it's not working. Okay, those were 3 triggers, did not work. It's very interesting. What do I make of these people? Shirin?
I just typed my answer.
Ah, you did. Great. To know the current behavior and then know how to change them to achieve the desired ones. Exactly. What Sergio said as well. Very true. But the point I want to drive here is that when you think of a desired behavior, and when marketers think of a desired behavior, product designers, UX designers, what have you, service designers, we tend to treat this user kind of being in a vacuum, just sitting there ready to do our desired behavior. The reason to have these both is to always know that the user is always doing something already. And they're doing it for a reason, right? They're not just sitting there waiting in a vacuum for your fantastic design and to engage with it. They are busy living their lives. They could be reading, they could be taking care of their kids, million things on vacation, working, whatever. They are engrossed in something, and they're not doing it just casually. They have a whole bunch of reasons, motivations for doing that present behavior. And in order to be able to give them a compelling reason to shift from that behavior to doing your behavior, then you need to understand both. We need to understand that moment very well. And so we try to look at in this first step, what does the human presently do? And we consider things like, what is their context, social context, physical context. We consider things like, do they have entrenchment into something? Entrenchment is a word which basically means that you have a way of doing things with a certain product already. So if I am entrenched into Zoom because I have paid my subscription to Zoom, and Zoom, I've learned how to use Zoom, and I know how to record on Zoom. I've done this now for 3 months. I'm good at it. I'm entrenched. So a new product coming and saying, hey, try to use me for recording. I'm going to be like, maybe not. Also workarounds, shortcuts. Are people already taking some shortcuts? Are they trying to find ways to do things through a simpler means? And that could be an opportunity for us to help them change behavior. In any case, the theories on this, there is lots of theories on present behavior and desired behavior. On the desired behavior side, you can look at what's the micro moment. You can look at what is the span of the change. For example, when I said earlier to Andrea about, if you're voting once, that's one-time behavior. If you're jogging every day, that's a longer span of behavior. So you need to consider that. You also want to consider the exact micro moment in which the behavior is done. Right? These are just some tips to give you an idea. You don't need to get thorough about this. Today, we're just getting to know the canvas. Okay, so that's the key. Trying to understand what is the user currently doing and what would we like them to do, right? What's the target behavior we'd like them to do? When it comes to target behavior, you want to be really specific, okay? So let's play around a bit with this case that we have. So I would like you to take a few minutes and write down what are the few current behaviors. So now we have Facebook RayBan stories as a group. We don't have this product yet. And just suspend your belief that we don't have this product yet. What are the current behaviors that we want the user to switch from towards our product? Take some minutes and please write down. I'll give you about 3 minutes. If you have any questions or something is not clear, please ask me. All right, guys. Julia, did you write anything?
I am still writing.
Go for it. No rush.
I'm just thinking about what you said with this Facebook stories product that you don't like. One thing you don't need the user to do is to fiddle with the phone or the camera when they need to. They can use their hands to do something else. It just reminds me of the time or like last week, I went on a biking trip, and
Mhm.
the scenery was just so beautiful that
Mm.
I almost felt like it was dangerous for me to take my phone out of my pocket just to take the scenery, a shot of the scenery
Brilliant.
while biking. And I remember wishing that I had a GoPro on my head
Mhm.
instead of, because I didn't. So I
Mhm.
had to make stops
Mhm.
and take a picture of the scenery while I was biking. And at the same time, I didn't want to stop as well because I wanted to catch up with my friends. So those were the moments.
And that's a very, very relatable moment. I think there's every single person on this call in the world will relate to that. Right. I have a
Yeah.
interesting observation there. The one of the funny things about the Facebook photo frames is that the videos and photos are in a square format, 2x2, dimensions.
So it's perfect for Instagram.
Exactly. So what behavior are they trying to drive by creating a 2x2 format? Post to Instagram, right? Because they're part of the same organization. That's not something that I want. So, but that's an interesting point. Great. Still, you talked about a moment, a magic moment, if you will, for the product. And how about what is the present behavior the human is doing from which we want them to switch to our product? Machine or Shireen, maybe? How's Kimmo doing?
Kimmo's still awake.
Tell me, Kimmo.
One thing is just, I go a little more basic idea is you have this, you have a basically sunglasses and a camera. You add two basic, let's say that you wanna, it's an activity and you can record the activity. But what my thing is, who, let's take it a little, who do you take that photo for yourself, or do you take the photo to share? And there is a very, most of the time we talk always Instagram photos, and it's very little that you take it for yourself. You take it to share. And one of the items with this is trying to describe what I have in my head is, why do you take the picture to share? It is always are you elevating yourself? Are you wanting to share your experience with others? It's an important question, and
it's a very important
with
question.
this, and like the bicycle ride, yes, you felt something, you wanted to share that. That is the moment when you need the camera. It is something bigger than this rare moment happens right now, and so that is,
Indeed.
I feel like that would be the moment when I want to buy these glasses. It's like, it's not for, basically not necessarily for me, or I memorize that. It is also to share, and this allows me to share it quite quick, not talk about how it is put in the Instagram or anything like that, but it's just I don't know, just that just came into my head right away when I saw this camera. It is,
yeah.
So maybe
I think you're asking a very important larger question related to sharing itself, which is not connected just to this camera, but to human nature. And we are going to touch upon that in the next part of the canvas, which is connected to motivation. So I will definitely come back to your point then quite soon. Okay, guys. Anyone? What present behavior have you written down?
One thing which I was thinking about is like, so these are not the first glasses that I just said that come to the market, and if I'm not wrong, probably all of them have failed. And I think that one of the reasons that for those failures, basically they look different. They look special. If I think about the Google ones, like they look very, very, very nerdy.
Yes.
People were kind of concerned about how do I look, like what other people are going to perceive
exactly
in me when I wear these things.
Mm-hmm.
And I can already see how these guys kind of
got
the solution
around
that
problem.
Exactly. But yes, yeah. You don't want to be perceived as a weirdo, basically.
Of course, exactly.
Yes.
You're wearing frames is still wearing frames, you know, that it doesn't change. The pleasure of driving does not change if the car changes or the technology in the car changes. You still want the benefit of that part of the experience. So absolutely right. Okay, guys, anyone wrote down the present behavior? They're rather simple. We don't need to make it very complicated. It's just for you to think a little bit. Kari.
Well, I'm thinking like when something interesting happens, I'm like I taking my phone off my pocket, opening the
yes.
Then I have this like what you call it, the pattern to open it. Then I'm opening the camera.
Yes.
It is in wrong side. It's in a selfie mode. I want to picture something. So it will take like 5 to 10 seconds
yes.
To capture the interesting moment, and then the moment has passed already. Indeed. And I didn't even enjoy the moment because
Brilliant.
so like current behavior is that having hassle with my phone.
Exactly.
I'm missing the actual moment.
Yes, struggle with phone while the moment skips by. That's what I'll write down. So I've opened up a virtual canvas here. I'm using Google Jamboard, which is a really nice little product for doing these kinds of things. So that's how I use the canvas. That's exactly it, right? It's very focused. I really like this current behavior because, I mean, I write something even simpler, something like use phone to take a camera, to take a photo. That's what, or take a video. That's what my user is currently doing. But I think I like Kari's and even more specific, and also what someone said earlier was Julia about the struggle. The current behavior is that users are struggling when the moment, you know, in the right moment, while the moment skips by or slips by. And that's a really good current behavior to try to change because we are experiencing pain in that moment. Great. Anything else? Any other cool present behavior that someone wrote? I think I myself wrote a couple of.
I think you also have to keep in mind about wearing the sunglasses, is that maybe they're not using sunglasses as much. So that was just one very basic thing I added to this list.
That's very interesting. Are you saying that a current behavior is that they are not wearing sunglasses? Could you be very specific?
Yes.
Interesting. Yeah. Wow. Why not? Even a negative behavior can be written. I like it. I love it. See, that's the thing. It's all about like how can you be really generative and really like creative about your opportunities. Typically what happens is you'll find these through your user research, right? The more you understand your users, the more you'll understand their current behaviors. But in this case, we're just trying to analyze this product using this framework, right? I hope you see the difference. But that's a really good one. Going out without sunglasses, current behavior that we want to change. Awesome. Love this one. Never thought of this. I also had something here. Did I write something? Yeah, tap phone. Okay. Awesome. I love these two current behaviors. Let's go with these two for the moment. If anyone has anything else. So you see, when Angela said not wearing glasses, not doing something is not a behavior because you're not doing anything in that moment. But I had to reframe it. I had to rewrite it as doing something, because that's the thing about behavior. You have to kind of talk about it in terms of action, and otherwise you're not being specific enough. So going out without sunglasses would be the behavior that people are doing currently. Great. So then let's jump to a few desired behaviors. So now what do we want users to switch to? You already saw what they're doing in the moment. Now we're trying to build this cool product. We may have some idea about what it is. Or if you just look at this product, what is the switch that's happening? Can you be very specific and tell me what are the desired behaviors that you want people to do? Please take a few minutes, or if anyone has any answers, you can also just talk. So you're trying to see in this moment of desired behavior, what is the job the user is trying to accomplish? Are they trying to get an emotional job done? Are they trying to get a functional job done? What is the goal? What are they trying to accomplish? We're also trying to see from our perspective, what's the change we want them to create. And we're also trying to understand that moment very well. So it really helps to look at what you guys were saying earlier, things like biking, standing on the seashore, being very, very specific about the moment really, really helps. Now, in some projects, you may start off knowing the current behavior before the present behavior. The canvas is, of course, a dynamic framework. You can put things in different places and build them, but then it kind of orders out your thoughts. And so sometimes the target behavior may be getting the user to buy something, maybe getting the user to do something like voting, or getting the user to clean up. And sometimes also it's about stopping toxic behavior, stopping addictions, or stopping staying up late at night. But in the case of staying up late at night, you would have to frame it in a way where you say, the present behavior, the user stays up late. The current behavior, we would want them to go to sleep, right? At a particular time. Okay, any thoughts on the desired behavior? Claudio? Ruby? Hello, Cesar. Hi, Mustafa. Are you there?
Hello, yes. Sorry, I'm going to get my camera back. Hello.
Hi, Katrina.
Hi, how is it going here? I was away for a while.
It's all right. It's all right. There's a number of participants who are just not responding. I'm not sure if they've just turned it on and they're doing something else or.
Yeah, I mean, we will now have a networking part.
Actually, I'm not done. I still have a lot more to go.
Okay.
Earlier, I told Vicky that I had prepared for about 1.5 hours, but I think this is going pretty well. And the ones who are participating, I think the contributions are quite good, and we still have quite a bit to do. So we had thought of the networking part because we thought we wouldn't have enough content or enough time. But now I think actually we will be able to spend almost the whole time. Is that okay?
That's great. I will be in standby mode if you need me, or if we do go with the networking part, but
sure,
just let me know.
Perfect. Let's space it out and see how it goes. Okay.
Amazing. Yes.
Excellent. But in the end, I think there are only a handful of participants who are really participating. Everyone else is just like a ghost.
Yeah, but it takes a couple of good participants to get the conversation going.
It's fine for me. I'm having a good time. How about Min Chao?
Oh, I'm writing a long answer on the chat right now. Yeah.
Okay. It doesn't have to be long. It needs to be really short.
Yeah, the
actually.
Afghan news. I just want the last word. Just one. Okay,
No
I'm just thinking about user behavior.
Okay. What would be the desired behavior? Anyone else?
Well, I have a few, but I can't help but to
go for it, Angela.
I'm always taking the marketing twist on this as
No
well.
worries.
How I would target. So
that's fine.
Very, very simple. Just use the phone less, maybe share more content. And so then I'm targeting.
So use the phone less is not a behavior because that's not doing something.
Well, okay.
Yeah. So we want to, it's a good point, but
keep the phone in their pocket. Okay, that's maybe the.
But I don't understand. We are designing Facebook glasses, right? That's our product.
Yes.
How does making the user keep the phone in his pocket benefit us? Like, how does it drive the use of the product? Sergio, any thoughts? Target behavior?
Yes, what I have is taking more pictures in a wider set of situations, including the ones that your hands are busy doing something else, or because they are very active or dynamic, and then you don't have possibility. So increasing the chances of situations to where you you can take pictures.
Does increasing chances of taking photos, is that a behavior? Is it something the user is doing?
No,
it's your goal, right?
That's the goal, but basically what you want is like taking more pictures. That's basically ultimately what they want. They want the content, so they want people to be able to take more pictures.
What is the behavior we want them to do? Okay, take more. Okay, yes. Okay, let's say take more. That's a valid one. Take more pictures than user would without stories. Okay. That's a behavior. Sure, take more photos. But can you be more? Yeah, please.
I would have desired from a RayBan side of that maybe this would increase the use of sunglasses. A lot of people use sunglasses, so I don't know how many people actually.
Okay, that's pretty good. Use the sunglass more often.
Yes.
So going out without sunglasses is the current behavior. Go out with sunglasses more often. Lovely. I like it. Right. Very good. Anything else? Guys, you're missing the most fundamental behaviors. Think about the product. What is the user doing on the product?
Actually, I just entered it in the chat.
Hello.
Chat behavior. Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah.
Enjoy the moment and take photos too. Now, sorry, what's your name?
Hiram.
Hiram, see, you're enjoying the moment. Is that a behavior or is that your feeling, your emotion? It's subjective in your mind. Is that something you're doing, enjoying the moment?
Yeah, it's a desired behavior as well, because many times when we take the photos, we don't really see the content. That's what actually one of the participants also mentioned, that we don't enjoy the actual moment, but we just take the photos then. That's my objective here. That okay, I want to enjoy the moment and also I want to take the photo. I think that's the major use of this.
That's fantastic. That's a great point you made. You want to enjoy the moment, but is that a behavior? Is that something that you're actually like? Is that an action you're doing, or is it is it a result of the action you're doing? So I would say I would rephrase your statement to say, do whatever the user is currently doing with their hands.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
No. Actually, no. I'm not enjoying the moment. Which, for example, many times those who are taking the photos, they are looking in the screen, but they are not looking at the content which is in front of them.
I want
to look at the content.
Okay, great.
Even if
continue. Okay, great.
Even if they don't drink coffee, it's okay.
Excellent. Then the behavior would be continue participating in the scene.
Correct. Exactly. Yeah.
Right? That's the behavior. Out of that, you get enjoyment. Out of that, you get immersion. Continue. Good point. Continue participating in the moment or being present. Okay, I will give you the answer that I was looking for.
Can I try first?
Please.
Could be like posting more photos to Facebook, Instagram, whatever.
Well, that's yes, that sounds good. Yes. That's actually you hit it, Sergio. You're thinking totally like a business guy now. That's what they would love us to do. Get people to post more photos, right? Which is horrible. Post more photos to Facebook, FB apps. Excellent. Okay.
One more. Wouldn't it be also that basically Facebook from the side is like, please don't leave us. We have this amazing camera. So basically, interaction, desired behavior is more interaction with Facebook. Because isn't it Facebook?
Sorry, I zoned out. Say again, please.
Basically, Facebook is the interest for Facebook and the user amount. I don't know. I'm just guessing. There are so many other platforms, so maybe Facebook is not doing that well. So the desired behavior is to increase the people using Facebook.
Yes, very simple. Absolutely. You're absolutely right. You see, the thing about the moment, the beauty of behavior design is that the more specific you get about the behavior, the better your chances of success. Of course, I want to increase people's usage of Facebook, but what does it mean in that moment? Is it sharing? Is it liking? Is it posting? Is it something else, you see? So when you have a good understanding of the behavior in the moment, it immediately gives you what features you want to build, right? Even though you're right, use FB apps more. It's still a high level thing, right? This behavior of using FB apps more will break down into a whole bunch of sub behaviors, which is what we're trying to get at. Okay, but that's a good point. Sergio, you are about to say something.
No, I'm just listening carefully to you.
Sorry, I thought that before this you said you wanted to say something and we cut. Anyways, great. I mean, the one that I was basically looking for specific to the app, the product itself was, say, Facebook, take a video, all right? That's the main behavior that you want people to do on the product. Say Facebook, take a video. That's the action that you're trying to change. You're trying to shift people from using hands to using voice, which is the big shift. So if you can get people to make this behavior change, not using fingers, not tapping, not pulling out all this awkwardness, but actually shift them to saying, then we have achieved all these things. Does that make sense? So the more specific you get with respect to the product, what you want people to do, the clearer your chances of success. Great. Very, very good discussion. Excellent. We have really, really good canvas coming up. Now we will jump into the second part. If you have any thoughts, please stop me. Now we have, hi.
Yeah.
Great. Now it's being interactive. Yes.
Actually,
yes.
Posting the picture in Instagram, for example, taking Instagram, posting the picture is a present behavior. For desired behavior, just posting the picture with a hashtag.
Yeah,
so
very good.
Yeah, it
Good.
makes more likes and more shares.
That's, I totally love that because it's so specific. You can drive a behavior when you know that it's very specific. Lovely. That's so good. Now I think you guys are on fire. Okay, so this actually gives us both a existing and a desired behavior. Post photos with hashtag. That's very good for the platform. It's good for the user. And the current behavior is users are posting post photo without hashtag. Super. Awesome. Very good. So this behavior change. So as you can see, what happens with the canvas is you basically park your team's ideas and then you can prioritize and pick which behavior changes would drive high value for the platform. Okay, so far you guys must be thinking, what an evil profession this is. What an evil discipline. It's all about like how to get people to do things. It's very, very manipulative. And this is the main concern that I also obviously had when the moment I discovered this field, I was like, oh my God, this sounds horribly manipulative. But then you have to remember that human beings do things all the time. They are doing behaviors, they are acting, they're doing stuff all the time. And they're not doing it because they're manipulated, because people do things because doing is a way of life. You do things to live, to survive, to enjoy yourself. Action is part of living. And so there is a natural human tendency for progress. There's a natural human tendency for going somewhere, for making life better, for moving forward. And the second part of the canvas is all about how do we align what people want, what are they motivated to do, what's in their goodwill, what's in their interest, with what we want them to do. Okay? And that's the key shift, because if you want people to vote for your Brexit referendum and it's not in their best interest, then remember that you are manipulating them. But if you can find what it is they are motivated by, and then find the appropriate behavior that will help them get there, then you and your user are aligned. You have the same goal, and then you're in a partnership that you can work towards. Okay. Now, I have struggled quite a bit with the design of the canvas. Well, in the sense that, is it a tool where you should have the motivation come first? For example, you have the second box align. Okay, let me go through the second box, then you'll understand a little bit better. So what happens in the second box is, in the first box, you wrote the target and the present and the target behavior. The second box, what you're doing is, you're trying to check user intent. Is the human motivated to do the target behavior? And if yes, we need to help them. We need to enable them to do the target behavior. But if the human is not motivated to do the target behavior, then you need to amplify their motivation first. And then you need to enable them. Okay, does that make sense? So what we're going to need is, we're going to need motivation, and we're also going to need something called an enabler. And I will go through the theory of this before it sounds too complicated. In order to get into the theory of motivation, I first want you to write a few thoughts on what you think is motivation. A sentence, don't overthink it. Just what is your normal reaction to what is motivation? Let's reflect here for a few seconds. I need more coffee. Hi, Jim. Oh, sorry. We are here. Hi, Cesar. Hi, Nasreen. Are you there?
Yeah.
Good. Can you please turn on your camera or use a profile picture so I just know that someone's there?
Yeah, sure.
Kimbo, are you there?
I'm here. I just need to keep the camera off for my network stuff is.
All right. Fair enough. Great. Good. Looks like everyone's actually here. Okay, guys, any thoughts on motivation? Someone had brought up motivation earlier. Could you give me a short, simple idea of what is motivation for you? Okay, the cause why we do something. Excellent. Great. I like that. Makes sense. Anyone else? Angela, is motivation and willpower the same thing?
I don't think so.
Okay.
They're related, but I don't think they're the same.
Mm-hmm.
I think the motivation is based on aligning our internal desires with the beliefs that we have, and that then manifests into the driving behaviors. I think.
Wow, that's quite a deep answer, but it does make sense to me. But a lot of people actually, even authors, they use motivation and willpower in the same sentence, even in the behavior change work field. And it's interesting because I agree with you that I don't think they're the same.
I think willpower comes, I think also a lot from experience. I think it kind of like develops and grows, and it has a lot to do with personality types, that where's willpower coming from. So I think that's why I don't really associate the motivation to
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. Yeah.
But wouldn't be something that I'm not motivated to do anything, but I have willpower to do it.
Exactly. It's when you don't have motivation that you need willpower. Okay, there's a whole span of motivation, and I think Angela also mentioned it earlier, intrinsic, extrinsic. I'm not gonna get into all that. There are lots of theories, but I generally like I'm sorry, what was your name, sir, who said from CCE Finland?
Heram here.
Heram, yeah. I like basically what Heram said, that motivation is the sort of the drive behind action, right? It's the thing that drives us to do stuff. And it's a massive field of study. There's a lot of cool things in there. But for the moment, I think it's quite cool. It's quite handy for us to say, it is this driver, it is this engine behind action. And we want to, of course, understand motivation from a behavioral perspective. We want to understand what is the relationship between motivation and action. So it's this driver behind action. Okay, so a lot of you, please go ahead.
Yeah, just I mentioned a point.
Yeah.
Willpower is internal and motivation can be internal or external as well. We can have external motivations. Yeah.
Actually,
so that's a difference. Yeah.
Actually, you're absolutely right. It's just that the motivation is still inside you, but the reason for the motivation is outside you. You see, and this is exactly what we call intrinsic and extrinsic motivation. So, for example, when you walk a dog, if you have any dog owners here, could you think of an intrinsic motivation for walking a dog, Haram? Internal motivation for walking a dog.
Yeah, to make the dog healthy and happy.
That is an extrinsic one because that's outside you. The intrinsic one would be the pleasure of walking the dog.
Maybe, yes.
So most intrinsic motivations are playful. They are things that you enjoy intrinsically doing. Like if you paint and you enjoy painting, or you enjoy playing the piano, you're doing it because the motivation is coming, the desire for it is coming from inside you. But if I'm playing the piano to practice for my concert and I want to be good, then I'm driven extrinsically. It's quite subtle, and many times people do things because they have both intrinsic and extrinsic motivations combined. Right?
Is there a relationship between this intrinsic and extrinsic and short-term and long-term change behavior?
There are. Did you ask if there are relationships between them?
Yeah, like or if there is a relation, basically, if you want to achieve a long-term change behavior, if you should kind of promote more like find your intrinsic motivation.
Exactly. So the theory is that when you shift when you shift a behavior from something, so you have three states with relation to behavior change. One is amotivated. And this is kind of people who do not have any motivation towards it. So again, if I take the Brexit example, you may have people who are politically neutral. They're like, I don't give a damn. I live my life, whatever happens. You're amotivated. Then you might have an extrinsic motivation towards it. You might be wanting to do it because you want to make sure that your trade agreements are better. Or you want to make sure that you get more funding for your army, whatever reasons people do. Something outside yourself. They're not doing it purely for the enjoyment, you're doing it for an external reward, right? That's called extrinsic. Further down the scale, you have the intrinsic motivation. Those are the strongest motivations. Those are things like beliefs, those are things like values, those are things like what you care for. And they say that when you shift a behavior from amotivated to extrinsic to intrinsic, you make the behavior more and more kind of something that people have very less resistance, and they do much more automatically. And so all ideologies and all persuasion and all of that is trying to shift, trying to position behavior change in the intrinsic space. You're absolutely right about that.
Yeah. I just want to add something about the idea about willpower, because when we talk about power, I just wonder about the power to make decisions.
Yes.
And when I mentioned the internal factors, because I'm just thinking about something like engineering way, like internal and external, but it doesn't mean like outside or inside, but it's mean more about like who have the ownership or the power to make the decisions. And internal here is like the power is on the hand of the user.
Yes.
The user. But if we think like we are a designer and we have the power to make some decisions, so it's external. It's from my perspective, it's external. Like we can manipulate. Oh yeah, we can control some reaction from the user. Yes. So it's external. But this doesn't mean like, I agree. Like it's not like totally internal. Like we have to aware of the context and align the motivation inside with the context, and people change their decisions.
Exactly. That's a brilliant point. So to go to this second part of the canvas, to say, to continue to illustrate what you're saying, that's exactly my point, is that one of the key things here is the human motivated, and then you say, yes, they are motivated. You try to make sure that you give them what's called agency. And agency is this feeling that I am in control. Agency is the feeling that I am making my own decisions, which is a fundamental human need. It's very interesting, but psychology has showed us over and over again that people having a sense of autonomy and having a sense of agency is a fundamental psychological need of human beings. Human beings do not like to feel that they are being controlled from outside. Whatever they do, they want to be the ones deciding. They want to be the ones doing it, right? And we move in civilization, we've moved in humanity, we've moved always from more controlled authoritarian to more. Why doesn't it go the other way around? Why don't authoritarian regimes stick? They stick 50 years, 100 years, then some revolution happens. Why are we so oriented towards freedom and agency, right? And that's exactly the heart of what you're saying. So there is no way I can sustain a behavior change by manipulating you. There is no way, even if I'm an amazing, intelligent designer, there's no way I'm going to be able to forever program you or manipulate you to do a certain behavior. What is better is to understand what is it you already want to do, what is it you already want to accomplish, and design behaviors around your goals. And therefore empower you and give you agency to do what you already want to accomplish. That's a great point. And that's why the second part of the canvas is where the ethics of behavior design come in. It's where user motivation, like you become very, very human focused in this part. Great point. So we've already had a very good discussion on motivation, but feel free to jump in. I quickly wanted to show you that, motivation, there are at least a few different theories. The one that I like a lot is called self-determination theory. That's more complex. I won't go into that, but I just wanted to quickly remind you that if anyone's seen Maslow's hierarchy of needs, this is a pretty good, pretty solid, quite old, but it's still pretty solid. And even if you look at modern contemporary theories of motivation, you see that they all have a pretty strong relationship with this oldie but goldie kind of a motivational theory. And it's basically a model. And what is good about this model is it's very comprehensive. It's looking at these, first of all, it's a hierarchy. There's a very smart element to it. It's basically saying that you need to have the foundational layers, just like a pyramid. You need to have the foundational layers in place before you can have the top layers. And it basically says that humans are motivated by physical needs first. You need to feel physiologically fed. You're not dying. You need a shelter. You need to be fed. You need safety, physical safety. That's your primary fundamental focus. That's what drives you to act. That's what drives you to behave. The moment you have that, you get into that interesting point. Someone said, why do we want to share? Because we have fundamental needs to belong. We are a communal species. We are a social species. We are not individual species. We are not islands. If you're hungry, if you're starving, if you're dying, you do not have time to think about friends and belonging. But the moment you have that secured, you start looking to connection. You want to belong. You want to have human relationships. And the moment you have that, the moment you have bonding, social belonging, you start thinking at the level of the self, which is, who am I? What am I in this whole equation? What is the meaning of my life? How do I accomplish? How do I become fulfilled, etc., etc. Now, this is, of course, we can easily get into a very philosophical discussion about what is self-actualization, what is the self and all that. But this theory kind of gives you a very handy way to look at human needs. Humans are driven by physical safety needs, social needs, and then self-actualization needs. Some authors call them needs of the hunt, which is at the bottom. You need resources, you need food, you need internet, resource-based needs. Then the rewards or the needs of the tribe at the next level, where you have tribal needs, and then you have rewards, or you're motivated by needs of the self, which are things like existential meaning, purpose, destiny, identity, complex stuff. And of course, these needs are all connected, right? I mean, your social dimension, your social connection, it influences your needs at the bottom, and it also influences your needs at the top. And I feel the social dimension is a really, really powerful one. A lot of behavior change people also now recognize that the social dimension is so important. In fact, I think a Holocaust survivor, famous quote, she said that she had been through the Holocaust, and out of that, she said that at any point in time, 10% of people are completely against something, and 10% of people are completely for it, and the other 80% can be persuaded either way, which is a freaking scary thing. So we are so socially driven that a lot of what we do, a lot of behaviors that we do, a lot of habits that we exhibit are socially motivated. We do them for acceptance, we do them to belong. And therefore you see, how does an entire society slip into becoming fascist? How does an entire society become something where they are ready to be surveilled, or they are doing some human rights thing? How you say, are these people human beings? How do they accept it? Well, they accept it because the tribe to which they belong has made that the way of life. You're either in or out. And then you start to think, like you say, well, this is the only thing I have, is this social connection. Where can I go? So fine, I will start seeing this as the right way to be, right? So anyways, like I said, if you're interested in motivational psychology, it's the absolute gold mine of behavioral science. There's so much amazing stuff, theories, models. Organizational motivational psychology is very interesting. Why do we work? There are great authors there. You can dig from all of that. So when you touch that motivation box, you are getting into this world of possibilities of what you can. But for example, to give you one more tiny example, there's also this interesting concept of push and pull motivators, right? In any moment, you have motivators that are in any behavioral moment when you're doing a behavior. For example, this cool guy is biking here, or this lady, or this person, they are biking. And on one side, they are being pushed by the motivator of the fear of failure. It's a negative feeling. This is a competitive participant, and they are being when you want to avoid negative feelings, you want to avoid negative emotions, and this person does not want to lose. They want to do well, and they are pushed. They're doing the behavior as a result of trying to avoid this fear of failure. And at the same time, the person is pulled by the need to be fit, right? Some individuals could do it for one or the other reason. Some could do it for both reasons, right? So motivation is in the moment. It's very contextual, and it's very behaviorally oriented. It's very related to what we do, but it can also be something that's drive away from, it's avoiding something bad, or it's trying to embrace something good. Okay, there's many ways to break down motivation. And what we're trying to do here, we're trying to understand, now that we've written a few target behaviors that we want the user to do in connection to our Facebook photo frames, Facebook stories, we're trying to understand, is the user motivated to do the target behavior that we want them to do? And I want you to think about, if yes, why, and if no, why. Does that task make sense? These don't report. These are the target behaviors or the desired behaviors. What I'm trying to see is, I'm trying to check here, is the user motivated to do these behaviors? Post more photos, take more pictures, use FB apps, go without sunglasses, go with sunglasses. You can pick any of these, and please write down, is the user motivated or not motivated to do this behavior? And I will be right back. Also, if you have any thoughts on any of this motivational stuff, just feel free to drop me a question. I'll just be right back. Take a quick break. If anyone else also wants to go on a break, just go for it for any reason. Hello. Just had a quick snack. Forgot to have breakfast. Okay, guys, we're trying to do this task right now. Is the user motivated to do the target behavior? If yes, why? If no, why? Okay. Anyone has any thoughts connected to any of these target behaviors? Kwang, Nguyen?
Yeah, it's actually the same me.
Oh, okay. Should I remove this Kwang Nguyen then?
No, yeah, I'm gonna soon leave the computer. So
okay. You're leaving the
I'm gonna
call?
keep it on my phone.
Okay.
It's whatever you say.
Okay.
Yeah, I used to have this kind of using motivate target behavior already. So basically there was kind of the beer event that we organized with it's a craft beer Helsinki, if you guys have ever come there.
No.
Okay. And so basically we try to create like before the craft beer happened, about half a year before that, we already tried to create, you know, like amusing footage about people making beer from raw material. And we keep sharing it every week. So every week we spend time to go to every microbrewery and make a short video clip about how they actually creating their beer. And then, of course, like get the attraction from our customer, because we launched the event almost like 8 months before when it started, and it was like 200,000 participants in Helsinki. It was like before 2019, of course. Yeah, and that is like to create like for people who like when I talk here, I'm already, you know, like have the acidity in my throat already, and we keep that.
Jim, do you have any answers for, is the human motivated to do the target behavior related to one of these behaviors?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's like that. Like people actually, like we try to create that kind of motivation for them to go to the craft beer. Yeah. And then after that, like the action is when the craft beer started, they already feel hungry for that.
Okay.
And slowly by visual, yeah.
Sounds good. My question is, in this, when related to this product, we're talking about Facebook stories, the sunglasses, right? There are a few desired behaviors here that we want users to do. Do you think they are motivated to do them? Take one of these, post more photos to FB apps. Is the user more motivated? Is the user motivated to do that? All right, Sergio, any ideas?
I think I'm inclined towards no. Like
right, excellent.
People are, I don't know. I see people a bit of fatigue. Maybe taking pictures, yes, but sharing it publicly with social media channels. I see people a bit with fatigue.
Yes.
The trend towards going like more small circles where you share with a selected amount of people that you already know somehow. So I don't see people very motivated to increase.
Exactly, more motivated or share less and with more intimate circles. Just going to write your really good point down, right? I'm color marking them so we know which ones are which. Great. Go out with sunglasses. Are people more motivated, anyone, to do this behavior? Nasreen? Is the user motivated to do this target behavior, go out with sunglasses?
Yes.
Yeah.
it's for the people going with sunglasses, it's getting more motivation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Very good. And of course, you know, we are just doing an example here. We don't know real users, and that's why at the bottom of the canvas you have something called, you know, user insight right here. What this means is that please look at the user insight for these sections of the canvas. And what we're trying to do, and in the real world, you would have done some user research and you would have an idea, some idea, like we had those, you know, user insights earlier, right? So yes, people would like to go out with sunglasses. Maybe they forget, maybe they don't have the right sunglasses, whatever. But yes, people are motivated. And you were saying? Nasreen, sorry, you were saying something, I cut you off.
Yeah. Actually, for Facebook, for posting the picture, I'm relating that one. For example, for business, if we post the picture in Facebook, the main motivation is reaching the product to the customer. It makes some more motivation.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good. Anyone continue participating, being present in the moment? Anyone on whether this is the user motivated to do this behavior? I would say it's a definite yes, right?
I just wonder, like the motivations to keep the habit. It's not a habit like posting pictures. Maybe in a few days I will posting some picture, but after that I stop that behavior because I don't have the habit yet.
You're jumping a little bit ahead right now. I don't actually understand your question, but please try to say it again.
Yeah.
We are only trying to see if, so you have a target behavior here.
Yeah.
You want Facebook. We are Facebook at this moment. We are RayBan. We want users to do certain things using our product.
Yeah.
Which is how which would be the reason for the product to exist, right?
Yeah.
So for example, we want people to say, we want them to continue participating in the present moment, right? Are they motivated? Is the person motivated? Hey, someone's got their mic on. Could you please turn it off? Maybe it's Min Chow. Sorry.
Yeah. Yeah. I just, because I'm just thinking about the noise. I mean, the fake factors in the design process. Like when we design and we do some user interview and they said they are motivated, and then we launch the product and we recognize actually that motivation doesn't long enough to become
right.
That's a problem because I'm thinking about the noise when I design some product and it's happened many times.
Yes. That's the, well, you know, that's the design process. You don't necessarily get it right the first time or every time.
Yeah, that's the norm. So we have to turn back and figure out what is the no reasons, and the no reason is always like because the motivation. Exactly. That motivation we aim at, it's not that long-term motivation, but it's
exactly.
Really
exactly. Brilliant point. Absolutely. So that's what we're trying to figure out in this part right here. See, what happens is we are in, let me make this a bit smaller. Over here, you have align. You're aligning motivation with the behavior.
Are you are you trying? At least I don't see if you're sharing the.
Oh, I am.
Or mirror.
I am. See that. Oh no! What? It says I'm sharing.
I only see the slide of task and discussion.
What? That is super annoying. Oh, I'm so sorry. Have you guys not seen me add anything to the Moodle so far? Can you see it now? Not the Moodle, but this Jamboard?
No.
Okay.
I only see the task switcher of.
I'm so sorry. Hang on, guys. Let me do this again. Have you not seen the Jamboard all this time?
No.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I joined next.
I am.
Yeah, but more or less as you were describing what you were typing.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's annoying. These two are on two different screens. How do I?
This happened many times when we
I
have
know.
Zoom meeting before.
It's
Yeah.
we are
You
in
have
the
to
very
actually turn it off and share it
stages.
again.
Yeah, the problem is they're in two different windows according to Zoom. This is one window and this is one window, and I'm like, what the hell, man? How do I put them both in the same window? Can I put them? They can't be the same workspace like on Mac. All right, guys, I'll just do this for the moment. See, this is what I've been doing here.
Okay, now
of course. Unfortunately, I have to switch between them. So see, what I did was, oh man, I thought you guys, I had left this on during the break so you could see the desired behaviors. I'm so sorry.
No worries. I think
Crap. Okay.
Using our notes.
Good, you were using your notes. But yeah, basically, this is how it works. I'm using Google Jamboard here, and I'm basically posting your post-its here. So we park these present behaviors, what people are doing currently that we want them to change from the switch. These are the desired behaviors where we wrote down these really good inputs from you guys. Take more photos, post more photos, use apps more, go out with sunglasses, say Facebook, take a video, post photos with hashtag, etc. And I've color coded it. So now I'm in the motivational section, and I'm trying to map by color code. Post more photos to FB for apps. No, the user is not motivated to do that. Like Sergio said, they want to in fact share less, and they want to do it with more intimate circles. Great. Go out with sunglasses, the target behavior, user is motivated. Yes, sounds good. Continue participating in the current moment. Yes, the user is motivated. So this box is where you add, is the user motivated or not motivated, okay? Let's do something with FB apps. Right here, this is a big no for me, right? I think a lot of people will resonate with this. Use FB apps more? No, I really don't want to. Okay, say Facebook video. Say Facebook video, take a video. Sure, that's okay. I don't mind saying that. Okay. Yes, that's okay.
I will disagree, but
exactly.
We're playing with
exactly. That's where I think the second part of the canvas becomes useful. The answer is both yes and no. Okay. So what happens is, in this part of the canvas, look, we are under align. You have two strategies. You will always find people who are, or not always, but depending on the target behavior, you will find people who are, yes, they are motivated to do the target behavior. And sometimes the same person might be yes today and no tomorrow. Like someone said, the motivation can change. And then you find people who also say no, right? You have to take two different strategies to these guys for these two different types of users. Always it's easier to work with users who are motivated to do the target behavior. Obvious, right? They're already motivated to do the target behavior. So the segment of users, in some ways we can call them early adopters of this product, would be maybe like me. I don't know, I'm not sure. But yeah, I think I would say, I would be, yes, I'm okay to say Facebook, take a video. I don't like the word Facebook there. If it was RayBan, take a video, I would like it, right? Anyways, so if you're designing for this person, if you're designing this target behavior, he's already motivated to do your target behavior. What you want to do is you want to amplify the enabler for them. You need to enable them to do the video, because now we get into a little bit of theory. Okay, I'm going to talk a little bit about enablers and give you a quick idea of where's my, yeah, share. Yes. Okay, we wrote down push and pull. Oh. Okay, now enabler, ability, same word. All right. Am I still recording? Very good, I'm recording. Enabler and ability, the same word. And or they're functions of the same word. Let's say you have the motivation to drink coffee, okay? In the morning, you wake up, you're walking past a shop. You have the motivation to drink coffee. You have the internal desire, the push to drink coffee. But the shop is not open. The machine does not work. There is no coffee in the machine. The attendant is not there. You don't have a credit card. You don't have time. The sign on the door is too small. You don't see it. All of these remove your ability to do the target behavior. So you see, you need motivation, which is internal or external. It can be whatever, the drive. But you need the ability to do the behavior as well. If you're in a wheelchair and the shop is not wheelchair accessible, you cannot do the target behavior of buying coffee, right? If you've had surgery in your mouth, you don't have the ability to drink coffee that moment. Maybe in a week, you'll be fine, right? So this thing called ability is very important. You need motivation, then you need ability on top of motivation. That's why what we try to do in this part of the canvas, and you won't see it because I have to change it again, or maybe that's why what we try to do here is we try to see, is the human motivated or not motivated to do the behavior? If it's a yes, they're motivated to do the behavior, then you need to enable them to do the behavior. So in this case, say Facebook take a video. Yes, I am okay. I'm motivated to do the behavior. Then I have to enable them to do the behavior, which is, well, here you start writing down the design concerns, so to speak, right? Mic should be sensitive enough to hear the user in most situations. Okay, that's a very important enabler, mic sensitivity, right? What else could be an important enabler? Understand different accents first. Well, or well enough, right? A third enabler could be teach the user key voice commands. So when you're doing all these things, you're ensuring that for this behavior, say Facebook, take a video, the user is okay, he's good with doing that, then I'm making sure I remove all the barriers. I make it possible for the user to actually do the behavior, get the ability in place. But there might be some users like Sergio who's saying, no, I'm not comfortable. I don't want to say Facebook, take a video. For this user, if I want him to do this target behavior, I can give him all the ability in the world. I can teach him, I can show him the benefits. I believe my position in behavior design is that some users may do it, but it's not, you don't have the motivation. What are you trying to teach this guy to do? So I need to change, I need to work on the motivation. and to amplify Sergio's motivation to do the target behavior. So I would have to do persuasive messaging. I would have to do a demo to show Sergio that, hey, dude, it's not that unsafe. It's okay. I would have to do a Facebook microsite, because I know Sergio is a digitally savvy guy. Microsite on privacy. And if he sees an entire Facebook website on privacy, especially if a friend sends it to him, and the friend says, look, dude, these guys are taking privacy very seriously now. They have demo videos of how people are using these, and also how low you need to speak, so you are not heard by anyone else. It's very private for you to say, Facebook, take a video. The other key thing here, that light is a the light in the front is a very powerful feature, because it warns you, it tells other people that you're taking a photo. So it makes the user feel more comfortable, because they don't want to feel socially rejected, right? Have a light, a signifier facing the subjects. So you see, what happens is, when it comes to driving the target behavior, my strategies change very, very differently based on if the user is motivated or not. And that's what the second part accomplishes. Does that make sense, guys?
Yes.
Excellent. Any thoughts on the second part, or any other comments? Did you think of anything else? Was I going too fast? Do you want me to rewind on something?
I have a quick question, not about the process or any of these things, but I'm just actually, because this is quite complex, I'm just more interested in the practical matters of this type of following these groups, like the yes group, the no group, and then again, then there's further following it. Once they become yes, then you again have to sorry, I'm so tired.
No problem. No.
Separate the groups and
Mm-hmm.
you know,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, and then the no's, how to become. Are they almost a yes? You know, they basically
Exactly.
have three subsets: yes, almost yes, and then
It's
a no.
not. It's not actually. It's worse. It's even worse. It's not even three subsets. It's a spectrum.
Yeah, yeah.
Looking at a spectrum between yes and no.
Exactly.
That is the reality of behavior change, and that is the reality of how people behave.
Yeah.
If you go and ask people why they did something, 15% will be 100% sure why they did it. Another 15% will be absolutely unsure. They'll do it because they were nudged by their spouses or by their family members. If you go to a Christmas dinner, you go to a big Christmas dinner and you ask everyone, 20 people from the family, why have you shown up here? You think they will all have the same level of motivation to be there? Yet they are all there.
Yeah.
They are doing that behavior. They are sitting around the whole day at a summer cottage and eating turkey and drinking wine. But there's the grumpy grandfather, there is the enthusiastic child, there is the teenager who's just rebellious and awkward and doesn't want to be there. There is the protective father. Everyone's there. They're doing that behavior, but their motivations are different. And if we do not understand user motivation behind behavior well, we can't design for that behavior. We can't create that outcome. So you're not going to get a perfect answer. You're not going to get 100%, or you're not going to get all your users in any bag ever.
Yeah, I understand this. It was just, that was, yeah, I'm just more interested in the software and the practical side of following these groups. What is used for that? Because I understand the spectrum of
the software.
The different, yeah. How do you follow these? Is there a software?
No, you have to build your own tools.
Okay.
You have to build out you don't code any. I mean, when I say build anything, you're not trying to code your own tools, but you use what you have. You can use everything from qualitative surveys to you can use quantitative surveys to qualitative research to analytics to what have you.
Okay.
All the sources of data collection about what users are doing are exactly the same. None of that changes.
Okay.
It's just about using them with a certain strategy. That's what the approach gives you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How do you currently? What software do you use currently in? Say, do you do digital marketing?
Yeah. I'm just using the already available platforms, but that's what I was curious about, is that if there's a software that I don't know about that's actually tracking more.
Well, see, that's the thing, right? The software what a software tracks is what you measure. It's what you define, right? So you need this thinking before you need any tool, because if you know what you're targeting, how you're trying to accomplish those target behaviors, how users might be split up. If you have that thinking in place, then you can tell your Google Analytics, you can tell whatever software you're using. If you're looking at Facebook Analytics, if you're looking at whether it's from the campaign creation side or the product design side, whether you're creating an app or a service design experience, you need this in place before you can use any tool. So I wouldn't really care about any tool, because basically if you become tool driven, then you start looking at the world through the lens of the tool, through the parameters in the tool. Any tool will only tell you very simple things. It'll show you conversions. It'll show you engagement. All tools are trying to show you engagement. They're trying to show you how intensely a user is engaged, how often they come back, how much time they spend per session. And they're also trying to show you conversions. They're trying to show you, hey, what goals has the user purchased? Have they converted, etc. But it's up to you to define what is a conversion. Because to me, the conversion is, say, okay, Facebook 3 times a day. That's the target behavior I'm going for. So if we can't be clear about that as a product design team, we will never progress in any direction. That's a great question, though. Anyone else? And the tools also, Angela, I've been watching the analytics and the kind of, whether you look at prototyping, anything, every two years you have a new tool. Every year now, the more a space becomes lucrative, every year you have new tools. So I don't think it's important to be tool driven. It's more important to understand what are you accomplishing using the tool. Then you can pick the right one. Okay, guys. Did I write anything? Okay. Awesome. I want to get into the shaping, the last part of the canvas. I will end this and I will go back to my presentation. Any thoughts, guys? Great. So we talked about enablement. We need to enable the behavior. We did that. And the third part is the shaping. Now, this is where habit thinking comes in. There are at least 2 kinds of, all habit patterns seem to have a loop. The classic old habit patterns are 3 parts, and I use that. And there are more modern versions of habit loops, which are 4 parts. The 4th part, few different authors agree and disagree on what those parts are, but in order to keep it simple, I just stick to the 3-part loop, the 3-step loop. And actually, this is not just a habit loop, it's a behavioral loop. So theory says that most behaviors or all behaviors typically have these three stages. Any action you do has 3 stages. First step is something called a cue or a trigger. There is something that triggers you to do the behavior. This could be something inside you, like the craving for coffee. You don't need to have anything connected to coffee. You just wake up in your bed, and the context, the moment, and your conditioning to that behavior triggers you for, it's called an internal trigger. You have a cue to drink coffee. On the other hand, I can step out of my house, I can smell coffee. That's an external cue. And that's also a cue, right? It's the first step or the first part of the behavioral process. The second is the action, what I actually do. Buy the coffee, reach for the coffee, pour the coffee, and consume the coffee. And the third step is the reward, where I actually get some benefit from doing the behavior. Very fundamental and simple model to understand how all behaviors are done. So now in the previous part, what we did was here, we noted down what are the abilities. We talked about motivation, and we looked at, okay, what are the cases where there is no motivation? This part, in the last part of the canvas, we try to break down that behavior into these 3 parts. So you're basically taking the canvas behavior and the target behavior, and you're breaking it down into 3 parts: the cue, the action, and the reward. Does that make sense on a theoretical level? Hi guys. How's it going, Kimmo?
Going well. Yep.
All right, still here.
Oh yeah. I'm thinking this from a lean. I'm combining this to my lean background, and it is there's definitely a lot of overlapping.
Yes.
Just so anyway, this takes me back like the pull and push. It's data collection. And this shaping is exactly when you have analyzed what's going on, and to keep the current levels of manufacturing. How do you keep up with the current levels, and what's the next vision? Things like that. So that's what's happening in here.
Cool, great. Yeah, I would just say that, this entire canvas and the whole behavior design process, as you can see, is very focused on the individual human and what they are doing and why they are doing it and how to get them to do it. Okay, Nasreen, any thoughts? Cool, guys, I'm going to move on. So any thoughts on which one is an internal and external cue here? Angela?
Sorry, what did you ask?
Which ones? Okay, Sergio, maybe Sergio, Angela, you can chill for a bit. You're tired.
That's okay. I've got work also messages coming in, so I just
no worries.
What did you ask?
I was just asking generally. Yeah, no. Which one is the internal and which is the external cue?
Okay. Internal, I think more is coming from your own motivations and beliefs. Something that gives you, I think, what comes from inside, how you feel, and then external is something that is caused by something outside that you do. Just
great. So the smell of coffee here is the external cue.
Yes.
It triggers the behavior, and the craving is the internal cue.
Yes.
And they say, or theorists say, scholars say that addictive product or a habit-forming product is something where it starts out as an external cue. The product starts to have, you start to behave, you start to interact with it based on an external cue, and then over time you internalize the cue, right? So when you first started with social media, you didn't actually wake up in the morning and crave going on to Instagram. Some people, they had to see a notification. Hey, your friend has posted a picture. Now you have internalized that cue. You get the trigger from inside to check Instagram. That's not a very good place to be. And that's also a lot of the reason why, whether you look at The Social Network, The Social Dilemma, all these new films and like all the books, and there's so much backlash against the addictiveness of social media. It's because of this. We have internalized the cues. It's become an itch inside you that you need to scratch. And like all addictions or all habitual behaviors, they can be changed, but it's not a great place to be. I'm not advocating that you should make your products addictive, not at all, but you still need to be aware of the behavior, you know, the steps in a behavior. So what I would like to do for the last task pretty much is write down some cues and rewards related to the target behavior, right? We chose some target behaviors. We looked at what the motivation towards those target behaviors may or may not be. Now we want to write down some cues and rewards related to that target behavior. So what is the trigger? What does the user do? And what rewards do they get out of that? Okay. I'll go back to the canvas for that. Oh no. Yes. We don't have to take too much time for this. I'm just curious. We're all tired. I think it was a lot. So we can also just talk about it. So what would be the cue if I took this target behavior, say Facebook, take a video? Would this be a cue, a trigger?
No.
Anyone else? Anyone else? Anyone else?
It's
More
just
like
an action.
already. Yeah.
Yes, indeed. Indeed. This is already the action that you want the user to do. So always remember that your desired behavior and the action here are very closely related. Hopefully, by the time you get from desired behavior to action, you're becoming even more refined. The action is an even more refined version of the desired behavior. But for the moment, I will take this as it is. It's pretty good. Hello, is that? Yeah. I like Google Jamboard, by the way. It's so simple. So the action, at least I know that I want the user to say, Facebook, take a video. Let's not use Facebook. Let's say RayBan. Sounds much less intrusive. RayBan, take a video. That's what I want my user to say. So what would be the trigger for the user to do it?
Maybe there could be some beep on the glasses or something that makes you remember that you're wearing them. Some beep.
Okay.
And then you say.
Okay. Good. Interesting. But is that really a good cue? Because when does the glass know that it should beep?
Well, if there's motion detected, for example.
Exactly, right? When a subject moves into the frame. This is a very unique category of product where behavior becomes super interesting to design, because you're talking about, right now cues are notifications on apps. You get a phone call, that's a cue. You get the smell of coffee, that's a cue. External cues. The sound of a horn, honking, is a cue. You jump out of the way, right? Your behavior is you move out of the way. All these are cues that you can kind of design. You can actually design honking of a horn, introducing the smell of coffee, or you go to a supermarket, the smell of fresh baked products. They use all that, right? They use sensual cues to trigger purchases, the kind of music that you play in a store. All these are cues. But in the case of these glasses, the cues are absolutely outside the product. Like the product designer does not have the power to actually design any cues. You're going to have to wait for cues from the outside world. And that's fascinating. And I think that's why things like AI become very interesting. Object recognition and computer vision becomes very, very interesting. Because the next step from here is exactly that. The beep, the camera, the device telling you that's a good photo, but that decision the device is making based on some other intelligence. So one of the first few things that I expect this product will have is that you're going to have face recognition for those who allow it. For those who are motivated, you can enable the behavior of saying, RayBan, take a video, by showing them faces you recognize. Close friend, girlfriend, dog, etc. So the cue part here becomes very interesting. It could be achieved technologically, but typically for the very, very simple first version of it is exactly what you said. It is the subject moves into the frame or motion is detected. It's a little bit less specific, but that's also motion is detected. Great. And then based on these two, you pick, you say RayBan, take a video is what the user says. And then what is the reward that the user gets from doing the behavior?
The moment being captured.
Excellent. Brilliant. I would say seeing the captured moment or viewing. So again, you're trying to write it in terms of behavior. What does the user do, right? Oh, sorry. Moment. So this happens on the app. Another reward could be not just viewing, but sharing the captured moment. I get the joy of sharing. So Facebook can start off with saying that we don't automatically share photos to your feed. But there might be some people who are motivated to share photos to their feed automatically. Facebook can then provide an option later in the app saying, share, auto-select the best 3 pictures and share them, if they can technologically do that. So you see, that's how you drive behavior change. Always driving behavior changes. If you're a business, if you're a, whatever your interests are, driving those behavior changes in the groups of people who are aligned. And this is where everything gets really complicated with technology and privacy, because you have people who are saying, sure, I'll have a microchip in my arm and I want to beep it at the supermarket and pay for it. And you have other people who are like, damn, I just want to delete my social media. We are extremely fragmented as a society in terms of what we want. And we are all kind of moving in some general direction, but it's not at all wholesale. It's not en masse. So products that change behaviors, they start by first, and that's the whole early adopter psychology, that you first align with the motivations of those who want that change. And that'll have to be deeply tied to the kinds of rewards they want and the kinds of motivations they want, right? So there you have it, guys. We've actually completed a quick version of the canvas. Typically in a behavior design project, I kind of have a canvas like this, or sometimes multiple canvases. Because as you can see, you start having some interesting differences in the middle about, is the user motivated, not motivated? What strategies do you take? What can you build? All of that. And then you can have one canvas becoming multiple different canvases, which finally give you the product strategy for the behavior design that is to be done. So that's the process for designing behaviors using the behavior design canvas. Any questions about anything? Comments, thoughts?
I think for the design process in my design team, that we have a lot of canvas, a lot of different methods to design.
Yeah.
And one thing like to convince my team, like, is it like to do the behavior design canvas or whatever canvas. So that's a point, like maybe the starting point for me, like I need to define the challenge. Is that the behavior of the users is the key factor.
Exactly.
And then I need to solve, or sometimes like maybe they focus on the product more than the service. Yeah. That's my opinion. But I know, like right now, when we sell a product, we sell user experience. So every time it involves the factor of behavior, but we need to wait from the beginning, like is it the most important, like prioritize what is the key factor if we have limited resource to design something.
Yes, the limited resources and time is of course the most really important question you raised there, and exactly that is critical. So I think it's also important to understand at a team level what you're trying to accomplish and what's the best way to get there, right? So a lot of it depends on which stage your project is at. I would say behavior design is important at every stage. That's why I work exclusively in this area. It's not many people doing that, and it's tough to, exactly for the reason that you said, that people don't necessarily get why this should be done rather than something else. And I drive it from the same point of view that if you do not get people to do what you want them to do, your whole reason for your product existing doesn't matter. You could get a great experience, you could get, your service design could be in place, very nicely thought out, journeys, touch points, all of that, beautiful visual design, great technology, all done really well. But the last mile, I call it the last mile, behavior design, is the final mile, right? It's it could be a product, it could be a kiosk on the street, it could be a social campaign, whatever. Donate blood, wear a mask. You see, anything you're talking about a behavior change. Finally, if you want to be successful, you're asking people to change their behavior. You're not wearing a mask, put on a mask. Please come and give blood. Take a vaccine. Use public transport. Bicycle more. Behavior action is where the rubber meets the road. Before that, it's all intention. It's all hope and planning and strategy. But at behavior, things either happen or don't happen. And if you focus on that, then you can actually move your project forward. So when the entire team is able to see this very clearly, then you can make the choice and say, God damn, we need service design, we need experience design, we need all that stuff. But if we don't get the behavior change in place, none of that is going to matter. So then it's your decision. Do you want to start with the behavior change? Figure it out? I would say yes, because then you can work backwards. You can decide all those other things based on what behavior changes you're targeting. It's much more efficient. It can be much more lean and prototype driven than going the other way around and coming up with lots of features that no one wants to use, right? So it's about a group level understanding. Like any project, you have to have the same views on how to do something to actually do it. And products and services are not, they don't come into this conversation, because a product is basically what are you selling? It's how you're productizing something, right? The product has a value proposition, it has a price attached to it. It's the package that you are offering as a business. The service is what the user interacts with. It's the part of the product or the dimension of the product that the user actually experiences. So the product may be a personal banking product, personal finance product, but the service is all those moments in the life where the user actually experiences the product. It could be the app, it could be customer service, it could be the ATM. The service is how a product like plays out through time. They are the same thing. They're just two ways of looking at the same thing. But behavior is what the user does in each of those moments. So I go from the bottom up, I get the behaviors right first, then I know the scope of my service and I know what I'm selling as a product. Does that make sense?
This totally makes sense. Yeah.
Great.
And one thing I wonder, because I work in the team right now, and most of them, they are on the product field. And I'm focused more on service design. And I recognize even the term in product design and service design sound similar, but there's something, a minor difference. And when we work together, we recognize it, but it's so difficult. For example, if I work with other service designer, I think it's much easier to convince them to do this behavior design canvas. If you work with product designer, it's much more difficult. I don't know why.
Well, it's a lot of it is because of also how people are trained to think and what skills they have. If you look at the behavior design canvas and behavior design work, a lot of what we did was writing. So people who have a writing oriented background, people who are in user research, people who have done copywriting, anyone who's text oriented, verbal or verbally strong, they will relate much more to behavior design. Whereas a lot of product designers are visually very strong. They come from UI, they come from graphic design. Of course, you can have product designers who are good, come from writing, of course, and so on. But this generally tends to be that service designers tend to be more abstract verbal thinkers. And a lot of product designers are much more visually very strong. So this is not someone who's visually strong cannot relate to this approach. It's too abstract. You have to actually think and turn your thoughts into text. They would rather turn their thoughts into visuals. So user research is definitely very close to behavior design. And sometimes I think a lot of what user researchers do is exactly this. But user researchers usually tend to stop with what they call insights. They tend to stop with a sort of like what users would like. They kind of stop at that motivational moment and they say, like I wrote earlier, users would like to have their hands free while taking video. That's nice, but how do you turn that into a behavior that the user does on the product, using the product in their lives? That's where behavior design it leaves research and becomes design.
Yeah.
See? And exactly. It's brilliant. And I just love that space. That's the space where I think the action is at. So it's a collaborative process, to be honest. The reason I like startups I like teams where you can put people together based on some like collaboration potential. So I would say one way to do it is you have breakout teams within your team. Let's say you have a team of, I don't know, like now that you have product and service designers, if you have 7-8 people who are contributing, it's already too much. I would say pick the 3 most verbally oriented people. They could be from any function. They could be even an engineer. They could be any designer. Take people who naturally write long emails. They, verbally oriented, they talk a lot like me. You take these guys and you bring the canvas and say, okay, guys, what behaviors are we trying to design?
Exactly. I agree with you, especially about user insight and user research. Exactly, because when the team just stop at the motivations.
Exactly.
And the factor of interaction during the product development, or when we consider about the product, we just think the service design as a component of the product. I mean, like, for example, like until the launching process, like we recognize, okay, we need to consider how the user approach the product. And at that time, the marketing team or the sales team jump into. And that's one thing I wonder, like, actually, this concept adopted by the marketing and the sales team much more than the design team. I had that feeling. And marketing team, they approach this one much stronger. because they only work with the
Exactly.
the early
Exactly.
adopter. So they get the idea about motivation is very important.
Exactly.
So,
But marketing doesn't have any power over product. So
yeah,
they have
that's
only
the
power,
point.
they only have power over channels. So
Yes.
they can drive you to click on an ad, they can drive you to click basically at the top of the funnel. They can create what is called acquisition, and they can drive you to download an app. But the moment you download that app, they don't have any power over what behaviors you do.
Yeah.
And so that's the disconnect between product and marketing. For me, actually, these functions they should be working hand in hand, because the handoff should be seamless, which is what you see in a product like Apple or whatever. You look at an Apple, you look at the iPhone webpage, it says buy now. When you buy and download, it's just smooth, the so-called seamlessness that we talk about. It's a behavioral seamlessness.
Yes,
and
exactly.
Marketers are much more, like you said, they're message driven. So they have, they think about how to engage you and how to connect with you, but get you to do something.
Yeah.
But I think that thinking can be so much more in the product development space, where we are much more behavior oriented.
And a lot of mistakes happen. A lot of mistakes happen in product development more than the marketing phase, because sometimes the marketing phase, like they recognize the mistake immediately when the market doesn't reply to our offer. It's so easy to validate. But then for the product development, we take months to develop a product, and we make some fake assumptions and take months to recognize a problem.
Yeah,
and it
but
costs the
don't
most.
don't you have rapid validation cycles? That's very important.
Yes, we have that also, but I recognize like the cost actually is much more on the product development phase,
of course,
R&D phase.
Of course,
and
it's so
it costs
expensive
the
to
most.
build.
Yeah, and the problem is like in that phase they don't adopt this approach, like they cost more. So that's the one thing I wonder. Like sometimes I approach like in different aspects, and I just wonder, is it good to have market oriented approach from the beginning, like bring the marketing and the sales team from the beginning of the project already to the team, but then they limit the creativity of the team sometimes, because they just focus on the current need and the power of creativity, like we imagine the future need. That's why we need the R&D and things like product development. So that's one thing, when we always need to balance like the current need and the future need, and the power of the product team, like we create a future need. We don't base on just the current need.
Yes.
So that's very important to say the right way.
Brilliant point. Hey, this is really good. Please drop me a LinkedIn invite, Min Chao. I would like to be in touch and we can discuss these details, because I find your thoughts I connect very much to how you're seeing things. And this is exactly the discussion that we need to have. But also due to limitations of time, I want to give anyone else who has anything to say or ask an opportunity before we start to wind down.
Yeah.
Excellent
great
points. Thank you, Steph.
I think I will contact you on LinkedIn.
Please
nice
do.
to have
Please
the
do.
workshop. Yeah. Thank you.
Anyone else, guys?
Maybe like
Please,
just quick, small question. Like imagine that okay, you got people motivated, I think, in this audience. Like what are kind of the baby steps that you will recommend? Okay, I want to adopt this. I started using this the design canvas, the behavior design canvas. Are there some small, simple ways to start using it? As I said, like most of the time, designers will have to deal with other people and so on. Like, do you have any recommended like best experience or best good practice of how to start?
This is I get asked this a lot, Sergio, and I'm honestly don't have a great answer, because I've been doing it for a very long time. I've thought about it for a long time. So I automatically respond from a different level of preparedness, because I've just done it a lot. And that so I have no other way to recommend than my own way, which is just do it, and if you understand the framework, what each part is doing, and you practice it and you internalize it, it starts to become more and more accessible. And it's just about being extremely specific and understanding what each box is doing, and actually trying to practice that on as many cases as possible. So in the beginning, you need not take that as the gold standard for what your project is doing, but have it as an extra input for your project, together with all the things that you guys do already well. And as you refine that process, you will see that, hey, this starts to give me more and more value. That's the only way I can recommend. And if you understand each box, okay, this is what's happening in motivation. What is the user? You can always read a bit more about motivational theory. But the key thing I would say is try to stick to one framework. If you look at behavioral economics, there are other design people. There's a good handful of frameworks out there, I would say. Some which are, well, most which are from the non-digital world, and classical behavioral economics stuff. If you jump a lot between frameworks, you never really get to the relationship of what is motivation to gamification, or what is ability to motivation. I would say if you stick to one framework for a little while, and then if you can break this canvas, if you can find a flaw in it, then I feel your understanding is really beginning to improve, because you found something that does not work, right? So that's what I try to urge my students to say, guys, just stick to one framework for a little while, give it some time. And that would be the baby steps I can recommend, basically. But be pretty process oriented in the beginning and be iterative, just like we do in design thinking. See, now you're an experienced designer. I can ask you any question at any point in design thinking, and you know how to connect with that. But you did it because you went through the process so many times that you've become the process now. But so in the beginning, you have to be quite process oriented to get how these pieces connect and be a little bit more thorough. And then you start to get it, basically. That's the best I can tell.
Okay, good. And yes, of course, please share you said that you have a high resolution version of
Sure.
the canvas. So
I will do that.
Thanks.
We are connected, so I'll send it to you. I'll get you on email.
Great, perfect. Thanks.
Awesome. All right, guys. I wonder if I have any more thoughts. Just go from here. I'm sitting in this bright sunlight. It's a beautiful day.
Can we get the canvas? Or
yes, can you reach me directly? I'll send it to you by email.
Amazing.
Just had a couple of examples here. Well, really, the summary really is that, behavior design, what is it? It really moves people to action. And the more specific you can be about the behavior, the better. Be very targeted, be very specific about what the user is actually doing. And then always consider what is the current behavior that you want to switch them from, because they're not doing anything in a vacuum. They will always look at the trade-off. What am I doing now? And what does this thing, this app, this service, this designer want me to do? And is it worth my time? Because doing something new is always hard. It's more effort in the beginning. So switching people to do a behavior, especially a behavior you want to sustain, is hard, because they're always going to look at the trade-off of effort, cost versus benefit. And then you have to look very deeply into motivation. Is the user really motivated to do that behavior, especially in things like these privacy related things, like whether it's online cameras or glasses or what have you. That's a massive area. Then you need to clearly understand what is the reward they're getting out of it. Is it a psychological reward? Is it a social reward? Is it a resource-based reward? And then you need to understand triggers quite deeply. So again, I think, Sergio, maybe this already answers your question also a little bit, right? The shortest bullet list of what to keep in mind would be this one. So awesome, guys. That's about it. Thank you very much for your time today. It was very enjoyable. Your participation was super great and enthusiastic. So thanks very much. I'm going to take off. I think Ekaterina has left as well. And I don't know who to transfer this call to, because Are you guys going to stay for networking?
I'm afraid I have to leave already also. So
Yeah, I'm working, so I cannot join, but I will connect you.
All right, guys. I'm going to take off then as well. I'll just thanks, Jim. Thanks, Kimmo. Thanks, Nasreen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll end this.
Thank you.
Recorded and also put online for you.
Yeah, sure. Thank you.
Have a nice day. Have a nice week.
You too.
You
Have
too.
a nice
Ciao. Take care. Bye.
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 Mm.